about you, sir. What we got on today? Show them this drill. Show the people this drill. God damn. They call you the boss, right? Ooh, got the Hawks on it.
We get high
every day.
Crazy blue, like St. Elmo's
Okay. Every day.
Crazy blue, like St. Elmo's fire. We get high.
He was pretty much executed. He walked right up to that window of that vehicle that went through that fence and fired several rounds through that front passenger window. And then he walked off. Just walked off.
This is Martez Hurt, a 28-year-old famous rapper, entrepreneur, and father whose dreams would be violently ripped away on a quiet Monday morning in October 2020. On October 26th at 8:30 in the morning, he would be gunned down in cold blood in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Missouri City, Texas. The shooter was Matthew Rayshawn Jacobs, the ex-husband of Martez's wife, who had been waiting outside her home with a loaded weapon. What dark jealousy had been festering? Were there warning signs that could have prevented this tragedy?
When he told me that the guy followed him to his house, he said, Mommy, he know where I live at. I said, Martez, you need to leave the girl alone.
Before we uncover the shocking details of that fatal morning, let me take you back to 1992 in Washington, District of Columbia, where Martez Hurt's remarkable journey began. Martez Hurt wasn't born into privilege. Growing up in a low-income community in Washington, District of Columbia, young Martez faced challenges that break many people before adulthood. But he possessed something special, an entrepreneurial spirit that refused to be dimmed, a hustle that would earn him the nickname Money Makin' Martez. As a teenager, Martez demonstrated a remarkable work ethic and business savvy. He would sell sodas and water to anyone who would buy them, turning a simple hustle into a profitable venture. This wasn't just about pocket change. This was about survival, proving he could make something from nothing. But Martez had bigger dreams. He understood that education was his ticket out, his pathway to transform his circumstances. At 17, Martez accomplished something extraordinary. He secured $150,000 in scholarships to attend Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University in Tallahassee, Florida, to study criminal justice. But Martez wasn't content to just be another college student. Music had always been in his blood. At Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, he balanced his demanding criminal justice studies with building a rap career, using music to inspire others from similar circumstances. He adopted the stage name Money Makin' Martez, perfectly capturing his hustler mentality. His mixtapes chronicled his journey from poverty to possibility. In 2013, he released BOSS, which stood for Built on Self-Success. This wasn't regular music about violence. It was positive, motivational hip-hop, showing young people that success was possible. Martez quickly gained recognition. By 2014, he was performing at Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University's legendary Homecoming and sharing stages with Kendrick Lamar, Juvenile, Currency, and Bobby Shmurda. From selling sodas on street corners to performing alongside Grammy winners, that's the power of relentless pursuit. His friend, James Jenwright, described him as having an "I can't stop, won't stop" attitude, the genuine spirit of a man who refused to accept limitations. Martez's ambitions extended beyond music and academia. He sold his CDs nationwide, amassing thousands of views on YouTube, building a following through relentless networking. His social media presence reflected his dual identity as rapper and entrepreneur, constantly sharing motivational messages and business insights. After graduating, Martez relocated to Texas, seeking new opportunities. Friends from Houston convinced him the Lone Star State offered the opportunities he sought. His family described him as a jokester who loved to travel and build relationships, someone whose infectious personality drew people wherever he went. In Texas, Martez met Aries Davis, who had a past that included a tumultuous marriage to Matthew Rayshawn Jacobs. Martez and Aries began dating approximately a year before his death, and their romance was immediately shadowed by her ex-husband, who clearly hadn't accepted the end of their marriage. The warning signs flashed like neon danger signals. Matthew Jacobs and Aries Davis had a documented domestic violence history. In March 2020, Fort Bend County deputies received 3 separate domestic violence calls concerning Jacobs and his ex-wife. 3 calls, 3 instances where law enforcement intervened. But it gets more disturbing. Martez's friend Ronald Vaughn revealed something chilling.
I think the ex-husband put a tracking device on her car or either her phone, so he would pull up sometimes when they would be chilling at night and like send pictures of her vehicle parked outside.
Matthew Jacobs wasn't just angry, he was actively stalking his ex-wife and her boyfriend, tracking their movements, monitoring whereabouts, showing up uninvited, sending menacing photographs. This was predatory stalking behavior that criminologists recognize as one of the most dangerous warning signs that violence is imminent. Martez's aunt Marlene Hurt Akem pleaded with her nephew to end the relationship, sensing the mortal danger.
When he told me that the guy followed him to his house, he said, Armani, he know where I live at. I said, Martez, you need to leave the girl alone.
Martez was fully aware of the threat. He knew Matthew Jacobs knew where he lived. He knew he was being stalked. And heartbreakingly, his aunt revealed, Martez had committed to ending the relationship. But tragically, it wasn't soon enough. October 26, 2020 began like countless other Mondays for Martez and Aries Davis. They had spent the early morning at Martez's best friend Ronald Vaughn's home, completely unaware these would be Martez's final hours. Ronald had no reason to believe his casual "see you later" would be his last words to his friend.
Yeah, when Martez Hurt left his best friend's home earlier this morning, his best friend said, hey, I'm going to see you maybe just later on today. But now he is devastated by the loss of his good friend right behind me.
Matthew Jacobs had been planning his attack, monitoring Aries' location through whatever tracking device he'd planted, biding his time like a predator. Around 8:30 that morning, Martez and Aries drove to her home in the Sienna neighborhood of Missouri City, Texas, in the 2500 block of Amethyst Isle Lane. It was a beautiful, upscale subdivision where families raised children, where violent crimes seemed impossible, the kind of neighborhood where you would never expect an execution-style murder in broad daylight. But Matthew Rayshawn Jacobs was already there, already in position, already armed and ready to carry out his murderous plan.
Deputies now say the suspect was actually waiting here in the neighborhood for his ex-wife and boyfriend to return right back over in that area. Now, when they did come back, they say the suspect opened fire, causing the boyfriend to lose control of the vehicle and crash into the fence right over there.
Can you imagine the terror of that moment? Martez and Aries pulling into what should have been the safety of her home. And then, in an instant, their world exploded into violence and chaos. According to Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office reports, the sequence of events unfolded with terrifying speed. As Martez pulled the vehicle up to Aries' home, Matthew Jacobs made his move. Aries managed to exit the SUV first, a split-second decision that would save her life but couldn't save Martez's. The moment she stepped out of the vehicle, Jacobs approached and opened fire, targeting Martez, who was still seated in the driver's seat. The violence was swift. Jacobs fired multiple shots through the passenger window, each bullet ending Martez's life. Gunfire shattered the peaceful Monday morning. Residents getting ready for work were thrust into a nightmare, hearing gunshots echoing through their streets. One neighbor heard 2 initial shots, followed by screams, and then more gunfire. Mortally wounded, Martez attempted to drive away, survival instincts kicking in, but the injuries were too severe. He lost control, crashing through a neighbor's fence into their backyard.
Dominique, now that this cul-de-sac is open without crime scene tape, I wanted to give you a lay of the land. So the shooting happened near this home. This is where the couple pulled up when deputies say the ex-husband was outside of the home waiting. We know that some shell casings were removed from this area, and we're told that the boyfriend, who was driving and behind the wheel, lost control of the vehicle. You could see some of the skid marks and went straight through that fence, and that is where he ended up losing his life.
There, far from his family in District of Columbia, 28-year-old Martez Hurt took his final breath.
Ended up cutting the corner here in this cul-de-sac and driving through this fenced-in area, at which time you can see the suspect or the ex-husband approach the vehicle and fire several rounds into the driver's side window.
He was pronounced dead at the scene. Martez Hurt, who had overcome poverty, shared stages with hip-hop legends, and inspired countless young people, was gone, snuffed out by jealousy and obsession. What happened next was chilling. After executing a man in broad daylight, Matthew Jacobs didn't panic. He walked calmly back to his vehicle, weapon in hand. Neighbors watched in horror as this murderer casually left the scene. This was calculated. Jacobs had waited outside Arias' home, knowing they would return. He brought a weapon. He positioned himself strategically. This level of premeditation makes this crime all the more disturbing. The Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office launched a massive manhunt. Helicopters circled, K-9 units searched, the community locked down, terrified a killer was loose. After 3 hours, Matthew Rayshawn Jacobs turned himself in to Missouri City Police and was charged with murder. Investigators spent 8 hours processing the scene, documenting evidence, shell casings, and bullet holes.
See the damage caused by the gunfire just moments ago when the victim's vehicle was removed from a neighbor's backyard. There was extensive damage to the driver's side and front window. Jacobs turned himself in to Missouri City Police this morning. He was transferred to the Fort Bend County Jail, where he faces a murder charge.
Surveillance footage captured the chilling images: Jacobs' approach, his actions, his calm departure. The evidence was overwhelming. As news spread, people grasped what had occurred. This was a young man with everything to live for, cut down by jealousy.
This is all a surprise. This is a deep, this one is gonna hurt a lot of people. This was a well-known individual, and I had the pleasure of knowing him for a lot of years.
Ronald Vaughn was devastated. Fort Bend County had been experiencing increased domestic violence during the COVID-19 pandemic. Martez's murder was part of a disturbing pattern, one of 24 domestic violence-related deaths in Harris County in 2020 compared to 17 in 2019. The Fort Bend Women's Center had helped nearly 600 survivors year to date, emphasizing challenges when stay-at-home orders made seeking help difficult. In District of Columbia, Martez's family received devastating news. His aunt Marlene Hurt Akem, who had warned him, now faced a reality worse than her nightmares.
I can't believe it.
Marlene Hurt Ecom says she hasn't slept in the last 24 hours.
What was he thinking? You know, at that moment when...
The pain that rippled through Martez's family was immeasurable. This was the violent theft of a young life full of promise. For those who knew him best, the tragedy was compounded by knowing this death was preventable. Marlene Hurt Akem revealed how close Martez had come from escaping this fate. He had promised her, just 1 week before his death, that he would end the relationship. 1 week.
Promised her last week that he would leave. Tragically, it wasn't soon enough.
He had posted, "You deserve all good things life has to offer" on social media that Monday morning, and less than 1 hour later, he was dead. Martez had died over 1,000 miles from Washington, District of Columbia. Her cousin Marna Hurt organized a GoFundMe campaign for funeral expenses and to repatriate his remains. He was described as a jokester who loved to make people laugh and build relationships. This was someone who brought joy to others, yet found himself entangled in a situation where another man's inability to let go would cost him everything. Marlene Hurt Akem expressed the frustration domestic violence families feel. What explanation could suffice? What words could make sense of gunning down a 28-year-old man in broad daylight?
He owe us an explanation. You gonna go out there and walk to his car and shoot him up like that?
Court records from their divorce proceedings painted a picture of a troubled marriage. The March 2020 domestic violence calls represented a pattern that should have raised more red flags. There had been a physical altercation between Martez and Jacobs months before the shooting, demonstrating escalating obsession. Then there was the stalking, the tracking device, the photographs, constant monitoring. These were textbook warning signs experts recognize as precursors to lethal violence. Martez's tragedy highlights systemic failures in addressing domestic violence. Despite 3 documented calls in March 2020, clear stalking evidence, and a physical altercation, Matthew Jacobs still carried out his plan. Local domestic violence organizations emphasized recognizing danger signs.
It is dangerous when you leave. You're right to be scared, but we are here to help.
The most dangerous time for victims is when they attempt to end the relationship. The perpetrator's sense of control is threatened and violence escalates. This is exactly what happened. They were moving forward, but Matthew Jacobs couldn't accept his ex-wife's new life. Social media tributes revealed how deeply Martez touched lives. An Instagram post from @Mistabaz captured the emotion. "Damn bro, this shit hurt me. You will go down as the most hustlin' ass nigga I ever met. If it was sold, Martez had it. Damn, you ain't deserve to go out like that. Rest in heaven, money-making Martez." Another memorial from @DMV Ripon News stated, "Rest in peace, Martez A. Hurt." Matthew Reshawn Jacobs was charged with murder and held in Fort Bend County Jail. The evidence was overwhelming: surveillance footage, witness testimony, forensic evidence. But for Martez's family, no verdict would bring him back. What makes Martez's story heartbreaking is the contrast between what was and what could have been. His music, still available on Apple Music, Spotify, and Boomplay, reflects his philosophy and hustle. His 2013 mixtape, Boss, built on self-success, was a manifesto for success built on self-reliance. His music videos, like We Get High, filmed in Atlanta, showcased his versatility and commitment.
We get high.
We get high every day.
Crazy. Like St. Elmo's fire, that's so high. Crazy. Like St. Elmo's fire. We get high.
I get high every day just to ease the pain. I was out at the bus stop when it was raining. All I knew in my life was keep maintaining. Couldn't be around people who had my energy draining. Had to focus on my goals, focus on my goals. Couldn't focus on you hoes, that's a no, no, no. Now a nigga
Martez left behind a young child, now fatherless. That child will know their father only through stories, photographs, and music, never experiencing his humor, guidance, love firsthand.
Feel me, dog.
What we gotta get, big dog? This cash, right?
You feel me, big dog?
Gotta get this money, man.
Yeah, gotta get this money. You feel me? You feel me?
You feel me, big dog?
Yeah.
That's the only way we gonna eat out here. That's the only way we gonna survive. Getting this money, you know what I'm saying? You my home.
Domestic violence ripples across generations. As of 2025, Matthew Reshawn Jacobs is serving a life sentence. He will spend his years behind bars, his freedom taken as he took Martez's life. The question now is that should Martez have left the woman when he first noticed her ex-husband stalking them? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.